Welcome back. Happy Saturday, everybody. We are back in the world of Monster Party. We are taking on round 6, which is the pits of the game. This is where things get really, really rough just for this level. I'll explain the layout of the level while we blindly make our way through it before we start talking about Ireland things. This level is the maze level that's obligatory in a lot of games. It requires a lot of trial and error and pattern memorization. The music and sound effects are very annoying and nasty, and I will try to mix them down as much as I can in this video this week. There's only one boss to fight in this level, and it's a very, very difficult boss. The enemies you see are walking pants and furniture that goes around, tables and chairs that attack you, and then also the projectiles that come from the ceiling. It's a haunted house level. When I first played this game on the NES, I was working my way through it, and on that NES run-through day, that magical day that I just worked all the way through the game, I blindly went into all these doors. They all work like teleport spots that bring you somewhere else in the level. Each door takes you to a set place. You just have to remember the pattern of doors where everything is. And on the NES, I did it just like I would as a kid. Here's the first boss of the level, or the only boss, I should say. You can see there are 4 different camouflaged heads moving through the level. Only one of them is the real one, so only one of them can damage you, but only one of them can take damage for all the others. So it becomes a game of watching and trying to avoid getting hit by that head and getting hits on him. Last week, when the video aired, we were in Northern Ireland, which is a different country from the Republic of Ireland. The politics here and the history here are quite complex and have been quite tense in the last few decades, but our trip to Northern Ireland was more than pleasant. We had a wonderful time up there. The country up there is beautiful. The people up there were welcoming and friendly to us. And so any concerns about the tensions, at least from what we saw, should be over. It was very interesting to talk to some of the people from Northern Ireland and to talk to some of our friends from the Republic of Ireland about Northern Ireland. And we have not heard a nasty word said by either side about anyone. So hopefully the fighting is over with those between these two countries. But we saw the Antrim coast, which is the northeast coast of the island of Ireland. We crossed into Northern Ireland on a tour bus, or just a charter bus, Bus Iron. It's the national Greyhound-like bus line here. We got a ticket, went up to Belfast. We spent one night in Belfast, and I'm sure the Belfastians are proud of their city, but there wasn't a whole lot where we stayed to see. We saw City Hall, which is one of the more famous landmarks in the city of Belfast. There's a memorial to the Titanic there, because much of the Titanic was built in the shipyards of Belfast that operated for a long, long time. So that's one of the attractions that Belfast has, is the Titanic area, that a lot of it was built there. So there's a memorial out there for all the people who died on the Titanic, and we learned about the builders. There's a statue there. With Northern Ireland being part of the United Kingdom, there are monuments to famous British rulers, especially Queen Victoria. They love them some Queen Victoria there. Lots of things named after her. A big statue of her glowering down the main street of Belfast from City Hall. Another site in Belfast that we didn't see is some of the sectarian neighborhoods, some of the Loyalists. Those would be the UK fans, and the Republicans, those are the non-UK fans, have separate neighborhoods that are also drawn along religious lines, Catholic and Protestant. But we did not go to those neighborhoods, not because we weren't comfortable going there, but because they were a little bit too far away from where we were staying at a hostel near the city center in Belfast. So after our night in Belfast, we rented a car, and Sarah drove on the left side of the road. We were very proud of her with that, learning the whole new set of mechanics and steering corrections on the left side of the road. She also drove a stick shift which shifted on the left. So I did not envy her position to have to do that. She did an excellent job getting used to that. So we went north out of Belfast along the coast, and the Antrim coast has a lot of little towns that are part of a system of parks that they built right on the coast. So we stopped in several of those. They're small city parks that allow just access to go down to the water. You can have a picnic. There's toilets there. There's spaces to play. Some of them had playground equipment for kids. In the game here, I've beaten the one boss. I've gotten the key, and I'm just navigating my way to the exit. Not much going on in the level. Towards the very top of the island, we went to the Carrick-A-Rede rope bridge, which is a very old rope bridge that salmon fishermen used to use that connects the mainland to a couple of small islands. And this rope bridge is 100 feet above the water line, and it's maybe about half of that length long. So you walk across this rope bridge to a couple of small islands that you can walk around on. So it's a pretty harrowing experience. It's neat to look down, and you can, if you want, you can bounce it, make it swing, make it jump if you want, or you can just hold on for dear life and get across it as fast as you can. We finished our drive that day and got to Portrush, which is an old resort town that has it's a little bit Coney Island-ish. It's on a peninsula, and it has some carnival rides and a few arcades, which interestingly have kids entertainment and adults entertainment right in the same rooms. And I don't mean the adult entertainment you might be thinking, but gambling. So the arcades have kids video games, which have changed a lot. The arcade doesn't look like the video game arcade looked like when I was a kid. But the slot machines were right in the same room with the arcades. I'm sure they have ways of keeping the kids off of the slot machines, but it was interesting because in American casinos, children or anyone under gambling age usually can't even get in sight of where the gambling actually happens. So they might be lucky if they can get close enough to hear the dingling and tingling of the slot machines and the gaming room. But here, the kids had to walk through the slot machines to get to the Dance Dance Revolution machine or the claw machine with the stuffed animals. The next day, after we stayed in Portrush at a beautiful hostel, we visited the Bushmills whiskey distillery, the old Bushmills whiskey distillery. Got a tour of the distillery and a sampling of some single malt whiskeys, which was very tasty, even though it was about 10 in the morning. We also saw the Giant's Causeway, which is a famous geologic formation that is a big field of these hexagonal pillars that stick up out of the ground on the ocean. And that was really cool to see. It was the only place that pops up in the world. We may have to talk more about this in the next video because we are finished, thankfully, with round 6.